Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm going to share my screen here. Share. And I'm sharing everything. Okay, so page down. A cash flow model. So I received this cash flow model. I think it has to do with oil and gas and a development, but it was designed for a tree. So it had, uncertainties, and it was going to have three branches, and you had this tree, and then you rolled it back. That gives you an answer, right? And it had some primary decisions, output metrics like NPV. Now, NPV, you got to find a discount rate. You just can't say, what's the NPV? You got to what it is. Most oil companies use as a nominal number 10%. It doesn't mean that's their decision criteria, but if I want to talk about the NPV of a project with my partners, I'll talk about NPV 10. That doesn't mean I'm going to make a decision at 10%. And then there's something called PVI. What is that? That's the NPV of capital spend. NPV of capital spend. Well, why is that important? Well, I want to know kind of how much capital I'm going to have to spend, because the metric I'm really going to look at is called profitability index, which is the ratio of NPV divided by the NPV of capital, which we know as PVI. And so that is a really good metric that's used by a lot of oil companies anyway. I don't know if it's used outside of the oil companies. But you've got to recognize, well, I don't know. But with AI now, it's hard to say that oil companies are spending more than everybody else, because you got these AI companies spending $1 trillion in capital. I don't know. Unbelievable. We're going to talk about this model. So let's go over to the model. Okay, here's the model. And so this came to me. All the yellow cells here are all inputs. In other words, they're hard-coded numbers. Now, I may have put in these, but that's by definition. These are the P105090s that were being used in the tree. And these were the inputs for those 105090s. And these are the seeds that I talked about earlier, right? And then there's random numbers that generate here. And if I was to change this random number, let's say if I put in a 98, okay, 98, you'll see this number change. I'll hit an enter. Okay? Because that's the seed is controlling the random numbers in the sequence of them. I'm going to put it back. What do I have there? 109, 100? 100. Okay. And now I get back to the same exact random number. That means it's audible, right? It's repeatable. These are all the inputs. Here's the calculation of cash flow. So for the economics people, you got revenue out here after it makes some investments, and then it's got to pay some royalties. And the cash flow is the capital investment is staggered. Well, this is really seismic and geological information, and this is the capital investment. And then there's some capital investment for wells, and that allows you to get the oil out of the ground, right? Really simple like. And then I get a free cash flow down here. So it's negative initially, and then it gets positive. That's why you want to take the NPV, right? Doing a financial model, what's the uncertainty of my cash flow? How much money am I going to have every year? So with SIPMath, I can easily come up with this uncertainty band. So how did I get that? Come over here to this file here, go back to our model. And what I did is we had the free cash flow, and I could have defined every one of these years in the free cash flow for an output variable. Then I would have had a lot more little dots here, right? But I don't think I need that. I just want to get the flavor of it. So what I did is I did a first few years here, and then I think I went every 2 years. Eventually I went every 5 years, I think. Yeah, 5 years. So here's 35, 40, 45, 50, right? And then I made those all output variables. And then I could calculate. There's a command called the percentile command that says, in this variable, cash flow 2027, I want to know what the P10 is. So over here, I want cash flow 2032, I want the P10. Down here, I want the P50. Oh, here I took the average. This is the average. So the average and the mean are the same terms. The P50, though, is not the average. P50 is not the mean. Average and mean are the same, but not the P50. Okay. And then this is the P90. I just got the point net. So those are really easy points to get, and I just graph them. Very nice. So here's the cash flow uncertainty bands. You can see we have a little bit of investment here. The investment's kind of not that uncertain, to be very honest, the way we've got it set up. And then we start to get to positive cash flow. And up here, now we're in the positive cash flow, but these bands are wider because we have the uncertainty of production and the uncertainty of price. And as the field gets depleted and production falls off, and we come down here, and so there is a small chance that by the end of the project, we have a negative cash flow. What would probably really happen is you would probably terminate the project, somewhere back here if you were following this blue line, so you didn't go negative. And then you'd have to worry about abandonment. So I hope you found this presentation useful. I find that the uncertainty band around the cash flow can be very informative and not something that many people do. Thank you for watching.